Honestly, that is it's something is a challenge, because you know, to an extent, our job is to expose things, but what happens when the Israeli government just come out and say, well, yeah, we're ethnically cleansing everyone? It's there. Like, all you can really do is report it and try and make people listen.
Not only do we want Keir Starmer out of our constituency, but we want him at The Hague. Because the reality is that Britain, under Keir Starmer's government, is not just complicit in a genocide, it is an active participant in that genocide. Those of us who've lived under him as IMP for over 10 years know that he is instinctively undemocratic and authoritarian. He is now limiting our rights across Britain to freedom of action, freedom of political thought, freedom of speech. Direct action is an absolutely crucial, peaceful, non-violent tool in struggles throughout history. This is unacceptable, not in our name.
You can't kill a baby twice. By the sewage puddles of Sabra and Shatila, there you transported human beings in impressive quantities from the world of the living to the world of eternal light. Night after night. First they shot, they hanged, then they slaughtered with their knives. Terrified women climbed up on a ramp of earth, frantic. They're slaughtering us there in Shatila. A thin crust of moon over the camps. Our soldiers lit up the place with searchlights till it was bright as day. Back to the camp, beaten, the soldier yelled at the screaming women from Sabra and Shatila. He was following orders, and the children already lying in puddles of filth, their mouths gaping at peace. No one will harm them. You can't kill a baby twice. And the moon grew fuller and fuller till it became a round loaf of gold. Our sweet soldiers wanted nothing for themselves. All they ever asked was to come home safe.
Today, Jewish voices denounce the prescription of Palestine action and the attempt to cast direct action against a genocidal war machine as terrorism. We stand in a radical Jewish tradition of resistance to national oppression and resistance to state repression. An internationalist tradition of solidarity with the oppressed. And we do so as our government faces the pressure of millions of other voices and of a mass movement. Their purpose in prescribing Palestine action, I believe, was to intimidate all protest and to delegitimize any direct action or protest against the military supply chain. So building the mass movement and opposing the prescription of Palestine action and the repression of the movement go hand in hand. Next Saturday, on the 9th of August, there'll be another national demo. At the same time, Defend Our Juries has called for 500 people to assemble to protest against the prescription of Palestine action. I don't believe we should let the police and politicians attempt to suppress the right to protest unchallenged.
I passed the corpses of buildings, of homes, of men, some breathing, some not. All of them erased by the same hand that erased our voices. This is not a siege of bombs alone. It is a siege of memory, a war against our ability to say, we were here. The bombing never stopped, especially in Jabalia. They shell the streets where children beg for food. They shell the lines where mothers wait for flour. They shell hunger itself. No food, no water, no exit. And those who try, those who reach for aid, are struck down. People die here and no one knows. Not because the killing paused, but because the killing of connection succeeded. The internet was our final breath. It was not a luxury. It was the last evidence of our humanity. Now it is gone. And in the dark, they massacre without consequence. I found this faint eSIM signal as a dying man finds a flicker of flame. I stood beneath a broken sky, risking death, not for rescue, but to send this, a single message, a last resistance. If you are reading this, remember, we walked through fire to say it. We were not silent, we were silenced. And when the cables are restored, the truth will bleed through the wires, and the world will know what it chose not to see.
It's hard to say anything original really about this ongoing conflict, this ongoing genocide. I've been thinking recently a lot about myths, legends, which are tales handed down from the ancient world, stories that help us in modern times understand the nature of human existence. They are the accumulated wisdom of the ages. I've been thinking recently about German mythology and the story of the bargain Dr. Faustus makes with Mephistopheles, the devil's messenger. At a crossroads, Dr. Faustus exchanges his soul for unlimited worldly power, pleasure, and riches. The moral of the Faustus legend as it relates to the world we live in is that human beings who make deals with evil forces in order to gain wealth and power are essentially selling their souls, or what you might call their humanity, their empathy, their compassion, to an evil entity. Starmer, Lamy, and Yvette Cooper have sold their souls. They've sold their souls to Mephistopheles, which in this case is the UK arms industry, US multinational BlackRock, and the Israel lobby. Yes. The prescription of Palestine action is an evil act done by an evil person who has made a deal with pure evil at the behest of an evil ideology. It must not be allowed to stand. Thank you.
Yeah. That what Israel is doing is stirring up anti-Jewish hatred and making all of us less safe, not more. If the purpose of the foundation of the State of Israel was to make Jews safe forever, it is having the reverse effect, the perverse effect of putting us all into danger. And how does that happen? Because those who purport to speak for Jews around the world, the Board of Deputies of British Jews, the Chief Rabbi, all allied being Jewish with being Zionist. It is part, they say, of Jewish identity and has always been. In which case, of course, most Jews before 1948 throughout the world would have been deemed to be anti-Semitic because they did not support the Zionist movement. We now have it. Being Zionist and being Jewish is allied. It is said that blaming all Jews for what happens, for what Israel does, is anti-Semitic. Yes, it is. Who makes that elision day after day after day? Those who purport to speak for us, They are dragging us in on the side of Israel. Our chief rabbi, you might recall, soon after the war on Gaza, this war on Gaza, the chief rabbi said in January, after the start of the bombing of Gaza, his son was fighting in the army, and he referred to our heroic soldiers. Our heroic soldiers. I'm not accusing him of dual loyalty, but you have to wonder who he is on the side of. And I do not believe it is on the side of Jews in Britain or elsewhere.
Here we are in Whitehall. These buildings were built not just to govern Britain, but to govern a quarter of the planet, the whole British Empire. And Britain did that mostly through extreme violence, but also through divide and rule. You took one community, one religion, you gave them some privileges, another community you didn't, and you turned one against the other. So you could dominate India by dividing Hindus from Muslims, you could dominate Palestine by dividing Arabs from Jews, you could dominate Ireland by dividing Catholics from Protestants. It's a technique that is almost in the building here, in the bones of British politicians. So when there was a real threat of a Labour leader becoming Prime Minister who wasn't as enthusiastic about military intervention as others, Jeremy Corbyn, it appeared a brilliant idea. Why don't we say Jeremy Corbyn is a threat to Jews? Why don't we get all those who are sympathetic to Jews and the appalling suffering of Jews in the 20th century to be fearful, to hate Muslims, to hate the left, because they're all a bunch of anti-Semites. So the media, the establishment, the politicians concocted story after story after story, lie after lie after lie about Corbyn and the left being anti-Semitic.